Time for a super self-indulgent video that most people probably don't really care about, but I said I was going to make it, so here it is. This is going to show off how I made the credit sequence at the end of the last Platinum video. It was a very long endeavor, and a lot went into it, so let's go through it. I don't know how this is going to work. Basically, I'm just going to show off all the different aspects that went into this, so... Starting right from the beginning, you can see there's a lot of different crap going on in the editor here. This is Adobe Premiere, if you didn't see. What I've got here basically are a bunch of different layers. These are just audio tracks. This one is, I believe, the music that's playing over it. This is the sounds of Kirby jumping and attacking and all that crap. Those are obviously not as important for what you're going to be looking at here, because that's just sound. So let me actually scroll that down here. But here's the visuals. Different layers I have here are background, comic, this is the source video, which is just called Untitled, and then the credits roll. And every one of these is very important. Background is basically what you're seeing right here. It's, I basically stitched this together. What I did is I got the platform itself, which I basically edited out of the source video, and I'll get into that in a minute. Colored this part in white because it just needed to be a different color. And then the gradient and this thing, like the background gradient I just got off Google Images. The inside of the frame is two different gray gradients that I got off Google Images, which I made the middle one look like the logo by just editing it basically. And the gold frame was also off Google Images, because that's how I roll. So, put this thing together, and this is the basis for what's happening. Comic is, as you'd imagine, just the comic that's uncovered as he hits stuff. Get into more on that later. But first, I guess I'll talk about the credits roll, which is just obviously the names going across the screen, because that was actually more of a pain than you might realize. The way this all started was by me basically making all of the names separate inside these little boxes here. I did have to do these manually. I basically made a... Let me actually open up the program and show it. Where the hell is... Here we go, Camtasia. I basically made a call out in Camtasia and made it gold and made a print screen of it, and that was it. So I did that, put it into Paint, stretched it a bit, put the names over it. They were all originally this longer length, and I just shortened them up as needed. And it is on a green background because what's actually happening here is in the actual project, the green background is there anyway. Can I, like, show this properly, maybe? Maybe get rid of the color, okay. There we go. The green background very much still exists, but I'm using something called color key, which is basically green screening, and it's allowing those to flow through. I probably didn't need to do that, but I didn't want to run the risk of there being a black background that I couldn't get rid of, so I did it like that. If you want to see in Camtasia here, I have the original project in here of the names going up the screen and all that crap. They're animated through visual properties. You just set a start frame and an end frame, and it animates in between, and that's basically it. This part was harder than you might think, because in the final project, I had to make sure that when the credits were moving across the screen, they stayed within the confines of that frame. When I originally started working on this, the problem was I had them like too close to the bottom where Kirby couldn't hit them, and then I had to redo the whole thing. So I had to be pretty mindful of my sizes. That's just getting into nitty-gritty, stupid details, though. You don't really need to know about that. So yeah, the credits I made in Camtasia, I did that because if I had done it in Premiere itself, it like has this tendency to blur images for some reason, so I figured it would be easier to do it in a different program and then import it. So that's the credit roll. And the main thing that still remains, which is probably the biggest thing at this point, is the footage of Kirby jumping around and attacking stuff. Bit of an explanation for this one before I actually go into how it works. The original idea for me making this type of credits is I did want to have it styled like this, where a character is attacking the credits and uncovering a picture. I originally actually didn't use footage from Smash Bros. Though. My first idea was to record Mario 64, where I'd basically jump around like a jackass and kick in the air and stuff like that. And I would do that in front of a green hill outside the castle, and then green screen that out, and then just use Mario, and that would be it. The same idea is going into play here, but it's a little bit different because it's not taking out green, and you'll see what it's doing in a minute as soon as I find the original footage. But I did it this way because Mario can only really do like 2 mid-air attacks, and it would be not as interesting. Plus, it was kind of hard to get it to work without the camera constantly following him. Because here, Kirby's able to go all over the place, like on the left and right parts of the screen, and it didn't matter. If I had just done Mario, it would have been followed, and it would have not worked. So, here is the original footage. As you can see, I'm doing the Omega stage of Miiverse, and it's in training mode with the camera set to like fixed or whatever that's called. I think it's, yeah, just fixed camera. Comparing this to the footage that showed up in the final product, you can tell that it's zoomed in a bit because you can tell the platform is all the way at the bottom of the screen, and it doesn't stretch out as far and all that stuff. Obviously, it hides the damage meters and all this stuff, so that's just zoomed in, nothing fancy there. There is a gray Kirby over here. You may be wondering where he ended up. You can actually still kind of tell that he's there, but you have to be looking for it. It's not always immediately obvious. Like, certain frames it's more visible than others, but he is there. He's just being basically eaten up by the green screen effect. And as you can tell, green screen is the wrong phrase because it's not getting rid of green, it's actually getting rid of gray. I had to find a level with a relatively simple background that wouldn't interfere with anything else, and this was the one that I found that worked the best. I considered Wii Fit Studio, but it was a little bit harder because there was like treadmills that kind of got in the way and a few more shades, I think. So this one actually ended up working pretty well. For the most part, whenever a message appears with a red border, it was a massive pain in the ass. I'll probably show that in a minute. But yeah, if we look at the original footage here, let me just find a chunk of it. I have what's called an ultra key going on, which selected a shade of gray, and I have this transparency stuff turned on. So basically, there's the original footage. We turn up the transparency, and like magic, it disappears. I found 90 to be the magic sweet spot where everything I need to disappear is gone, and it doesn't start eating away into Kirby or anything like that. It does a little bit in his eyes. If you zoom in super close at that, you can kind of see through his eyes, and that's a bit of a problem, but it wasn't so bad. So that's where that came from. The actual footage I recorded here was basically me, I think it starts about here-ish. I basically float up to the top of the screen and let him drop in for the very beginning of the section. Because when you play the game normally, when the credits are starting, you kind of just drop in from the top. And then, as I was recording this, I started playing the credit roll, like on the TV screen while I was playing the game, and I basically tried to match it up as good as possible. Like, there's a credit appearing over here, let me go over there and hit it. Oh, now it's over here. And it actually did end up lining up pretty well for the most part. There was a couple spots where I don't react very well. I think the worst part is right here. Like, they start rising up, and it takes me like a minute to start going after them. But for the most part, I liked how that worked, actually. It was pretty cool. And that was basically all that was. Is as far as getting the footage, I just had to record it, try to line it up, and that was it. If you zoom in on certain parts of this, you'll see there's parts that I broke into different sections. That is, for the most part, trying to get rid of the red squares. As you can see over here, I do have a separate color key getting rid of red, but it's pretty weak because if I turned it up any higher, it would start eating into Kirby and the Player 1 logo and all that, so I had to keep it pretty low. It basically ended up getting rid of like one specific shade and nothing else, so let me see where it starts happening really dramatically. There's sections where I basically had to go frame by frame. Oh shit. I was basically talking about here where I had to start animating frame by frame, and this is where it starts getting really picky. I didn't have to do this, but I was annoyed by the way that the video was coming out, or not the video, but like the footage. So right here, let's see how bad it gets. Right now you can see the P1 above him. In certain frames, I think it's going to disappear. Yeah. The reason for that is because basically right here, Kirby is passing in front of one of those red squares. If you compare frames, you can see like little artifacts appearing from it. It's like right here I have him kind of almost more transparent than usual to try and hide it. Here, what's going on is there's a mask, which basically, I wish it would highlight. I don't know why it's not. Oh, wait, maybe this will work. Let's see. Here we go. The mask is basically showing that inside this square, the things from the actual game footage are visible, but outside of it, nothing is. So for like this particular frame, nothing else is possible to see. And I mean, that was really repetitive. I apologize for that. But I had to do this because the red square was getting so much in the way. If I had left it, it would have been all over the place like that. You can see where it's showing up. There's a few spots here and there, especially one towards the end, where those are still visible for a few frames, but at that point I had decided that it wasn't worth it, because it was too much of a pain in the ass to get rid of them. But yeah, I was pretty picky about this. I did go through and try to get rid of those as much as possible. And that, at this point, I think pretty much leaves one major thing to explain, and that is how the background is actually getting uncovered. Because that was the part that I thought was going to be the hardest to figure out, but it really wasn't that bad. It was just really tedious. So here's how that's working. Right here we see Kirby's about to attack the word director, and it uncovers the picture. So here's how that's going. As you can see down here, I've got the game footage, which is layered above the comic, which is layered above the background. Right now you don't see the comic, and the reason for that is because basically it's set to be invisible, except for where I want it to not be. When I look at this layer here, over here you can see I've got this huge frickin' timeline going with a bunch of different masks, and here's how this is working. Let me zoom in super close so you can see it. These are keyframes. On this frame, basically mask 1, which is this square, or this rectangle rather, is set to be 0% opacity, and as soon as I go forward one frame, it goes up to 100%. So that basically means the comic layer within the confines of this rectangle is now completely opaque, and everything but that is transparent. So that's how it's getting uncovered, is I had to go in manually, and every time he hit one of these, it would uncover it. So like I said before, it was irritating, but not necessarily hard. It just took a lot of time to go through and do that. And you can also see other crap going on as this happens. Like right here, if I zoom in, like you can see it anyway, but just to focus in on it, you can see where he's hitting senior producers. You've got this little icon here. Those were also added in separately. I've got every time he's hitting something, there is a sound effect, which is down here. This is the sound of a balloon popping, and it's just kind of like a little bang noise. And up here is a animated GIF that I got off of Google Images, which I also had to green screen for the record. Let me see if I can kind of show that off. It's not showing it, whatever. Or actually, maybe this is. How does that work? Let's see. I want it to be visible now. Come on. Why don't you work? What if I just get rid of the entire thing? Really? Alright, whatever. You're the boss. But yeah, this is just basically a GIF of this little sparkle effect, which I layered over each one of these whenever it got hit. Timed it with the sound, and there we go. And this repeats many, many times throughout the entire thing until it's over. And since my computer is not wanting me to be recording all of this while having Premiere open, since Premiere is a resource hog, I think I'm going to call this quits. So that is how that worked. It was quite an endeavor. I don't know if I'm ever going to do one like this again, because this was kind of a pain in the ass, but it was fun in a way. It sucked, but I enjoyed how it came out. We're just going to end on camed out.